Is the 2020 election still the biggest factor in American politics? In Georgia, the answer appears to be a resounding yes. Tonight, we're diving deep into a Republican runoff for Secretary of State that's entirely defined by claims and counterclaims about the 2020 presidential election. Before we continue, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in U.S. politics, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow. The race for Georgia's top election official has gone to a runoff, with Vernon Jones and Tim Fleming set to battle it out after neither secured the necessary 50 of the vote in Tuesday's Republican primary. This wasn't just any primary, it was a stark illustration of how deeply the controversies surrounding the 2020 presidential election, particularly President Donald Trump's persistent claims that the election was stolen, continued to shape political discourse and drive electoral outcomes. The Republican field was crowded, featuring Jones, Fleming, Gabriel Sterling, Kelvin King, and Ted Metz. Meanwhile, Democrats Cam Ashling, Dana Barrett, Adrian Consonnery Jr., and Penny Brown Reynolds vied for their party's nomination for this critical role. The significance of this race cannot be overstated. The winner of the June 16 runoff will advance to the general election in November, where they will face the Democratic nominee. The Office of the Secretary of State in Georgia is responsible for voter registration, election certification, and ballot administration functions that are absolutely vital to the democratic process. In a state as politically dynamic and competitive as Georgia, control of this office is always a closely watched issue, but this year, it's amplified by the ongoing disputes from 2020. Let's look at the key players and their stances. Gabriel Sterling, Georgia's former chief operating officer in the Secretary of State's office, entered the race with significant statewide name recognition. He notably gained prominence for publicly defending Georgia's handling of the 2020 election results, a position that put him at odds with some within the Republican base. Vernon Jones, on the other hand, is a former Democratic state lawmaker who has since become a staunch ally of President Trump. His campaign has been characterized by a fierce criticism of Georgia's election system, aligning himself with those who echo the former president's concerns. His shift from Democrat to Trump loyalist and vocal critic of election integrity underscores the shifting loyalties and ideological battles within the state's GOP. Kelvin King, a general contractor and a previous candidate for U.S. Senate, is married to state election board member and conservative commentator Janelle King. His involvement adds another layer of conservative energy to the race. Tim Fleming, who previously worked in the Secretary of State's office during the tenure of current Republican Governor Brian Kemp, pitched himself as a conservative focused on tightening election procedures. His background within the office gives him a unique perspective on the mechanics of elections. And finally, Ted Metz, who was the Libertarian Party's gubernatorial nominee in 2022, also entered the GOP primary field, adding a third-party perspective to the conservative discourse. It's worth noting that Georgia's current Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who drew national attention for his firm rejection of efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia, is not seeking re-election to this post. Instead, he is running for governor. This decision by Raffensperger undoubtedly created an opening in the Secretary of State race and contributed to the intense competition and the heightened focus on election integrity. This runoff is more than just a local contest, it's a microcosm of a national political struggle. The persistent questions about the 2020 election continue to resonate, influencing Republican primaries across the country and shaping debates about voting laws and election security. The outcome in Georgia will not only determine who oversees elections in a crucial swing state but will also send a powerful message about the direction of the Republican Party and the enduring legacy of the 2020 election. The stakes are incredibly high. For voters who believe the 2020 election was compromised, this runoff represents an opportunity to elect a candidate who will champion their concerns and implement stricter election laws. For others, it's a chance to move past the 2020 narrative and focus on future election integrity through a different lens. So, what do you think about this? Does the 2020 election still hold the power to shape Republican primaries in 2026? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one. The road to November is still long, and the battle for Georgia's top election office is heating up. We'll be watching closely as this runoff unfolds.